The warning in first contact, the year, was 2287. Music and humanity had finally earned its place among the stars after decades of proving their worth. The human delegation stood before the Galactic Council for the first time as official members. The vast chamber floated neutral space, a massive structure built by 12 different species over 3 centuries. Ambassador David Chin felt the weight of his species' future on his shoulders as he looked around at the alien representatives. The council chamber, the council, consisted of representatives from 47 different civilizations. Some were tall and crystalline, others small and covered in soft fur. David had spent months learning about each species, their customs, and their histories. But there was one empire that concerned him more than any other. The Nigma Empire controlled nearly half of this sector of space, and their reputation was dark. David's assistant, Lieutenant Anna Vulov, stood beside him. She whispered quietly, "Ambassador, the Nigma delegation has just arrived." David nodded and watched as 3 large figures entered the chamber. The Nigma were imposing creatures standing nearly 8 feet tall with thick armor-like skin that shifted between deep purple and black. Their forearms moved with calculated precision, and their eyes glowed with an unsettling red light. Supreme Commander of Wrath led the Nigma delegation. He moved through the chamber as if he owned it, and perhaps in his mind he did. The Nigma Empire had conquered 17 civilizations in the past 2 centuries. They did not negotiate. They did not compromise. They took what they wanted. The first meeting, the council meeting, proceeded with standard diplomatic exchanges. Various species discussed trade agreements, territorial boundaries, and scientific cooperation. When it came time for humanity to speak, David stood and addressed the assembly. His voice was calm but firm as he outlined humanity's goals for peaceful cooperation and mutual advancement. Then Vrathker spoke. His voice was deep and resonated through the chamber like distant thunder. "Humans," he began, and the words sounded like an insult in his mouth. "Your species is newly arrived to this council. You have much to learn about how power works in this galaxy." He paused, letting his words sink in. "The Nigma Empire has observed your expansion. Your colony worlds are poorly defended. Your technology is primitive. It would be wise for humanity to accept our protection." David felt every eye in the chamber turned toward him. This was not an offer of friendship. This was a threat dressed in diplomatic language. He had prepared for this moment, studying everything humanity's intelligence network had gathered about the Nigma Empire. He knew what happened to species that accepted their protection. They became slaves in all but name. The warning. David stood slowly and looked directly at Wrather. "Supreme Commander, I appreciate your concern for humanity's welfare," he said with deliberate politeness. "However, I must respectfully decline your offer. Humanity has survived ice ages, world wars, pandemics, and the challenges of space colonization. We have done so through our own strength and determination." He paused, then continued with steel in his voice, "But I want to be absolutely clear about something. This is not just a decline of your offer. This is a warning. Do not mistake our preference for peace as weakness. Do not assume our smaller numbers mean we are easy prey. And most importantly, do not test humanity's resolve to protect our own The chamber fell silent. No species had spoken to the Nigma this way in living memory. Vrather's eyes blazed brighter. You dare threaten the Enigma Empire? He growled. I threaten no one, David replied calmly. I simply state facts. Humanity does not seek conflict with your empire or any other power, but if you bring war to our worlds, you will discover that humans are far more dangerous than you imagine. This is your only warning. I strongly suggest you heed it. The meeting ended shortly after David and Anna returned to their ship. She looked worried. Sir, was that wise? The Nigma have destroyed civilizations more advanced than ours. David nodded. I know, but humanity's history has taught us one crucial lesson. Appeasement never works with bullies. We either stand firm now or we spend the rest of our existence under their boot. Preparation for war. Back on Earth, General Sarah Akono received David's report with grim understanding. She had commanded humanity's military forces for 5 years, and she had been preparing for this possibility since the first contact with the Nigma Empire. Sarah was a brilliant strategist who had risen through the ranks not because of politics but because she won battles others thought impossible. She called an emergency meeting with her top officers at the United Earth Defense Command headquarters in Geneva. Captain Marcus Torres arrived first. He commanded humanity's most advanced warship, the Defiant, and had seen combat against space pirates and hostile species on the frontier. His experience would be invaluable. The Nigma will test us, Sarah told her assembled officers. Our intelligence suggests they always do this. They make an offer, get rejected, then launch a small attack to demonstrate their power. They expect their target to panic and surrender. She looked around the room. We will not give them what they expect. Dr. James Whitmore, humanity's leading weapons researcher, spoke up. General, I need to show you something. He activated a holographic display that showed a strange energy signature. We've been studying Nigma shield technology from fragments recovered at their battle sites. Their shields are incredibly powerful, but they have a weakness. Everyone leaned forward. James continued. Nigma shields are designed to deflect kinetic weapons and absorb energy weapons. They're nearly impenetrable to conventional attacks, but they generate enormous heat, which means they have to cycle down periodically to vent. The cycle lasts only 3 seconds, but if we can time our attacks perfectly, we can get through. Sarah smiled. How long until we can equip our fleet with weapons that can exploit this weakness? 3 weeks, James replied, but there's more. I've been working on something else, something the Nigma have never encountered before. He pulled up another display showing what looked like a missile. This is a quantum disruptor. It doesn't explode. Instead, it creates a localized field that disrupts the atomic bonds in whatever it touches. Nigma armor, which is incredibly dense, would actually work against them. The denser the material, the more catastrophic the disruption. Marcus whistled softly. When can we deploy these? The first batch will be ready in 2 weeks, James said. Enough to equip 20 ships. Sarah nodded with satisfaction. We have 3 weeks before the Nigma are likely to attack. Based on historical patterns, we use every second to prepare. The attack on Kepler 442b. 21 days later, the Nigma attack came exactly as predicted. 3 Nigma Warships appeared in orbit around Kepler 442b, a human colony world with a population of 50,000. The colony's automated defense systems immediately detected the threat and sent out a distress signal. Sub-Commander Zelnax commanded the Nigma attack force. He was a veteran of 30 conquest campaigns and expected this to be simple. The colony would see their ships panic and surrender if they were foolish enough to resist. His weapons would make quick work of their primitive defenses. Open communication with the human colony. Zelnax ordered. His communication officer complied, and soon the face of colony director Robert Hayes appeared on screen. This is Sub-Commander Zelnax of the Nigma Empire, he announced. Your government has refused our generous offer of protection. This colony will now be absorbed into the Empire. Surrender immediately, and you will be treated well. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Robert looked at the alien commander without fear. We received a message from Earth, he said calmly. It contained one word: defiance. The screen went black. Zelnax was surprised but not concerned. Foolish humans. Target their population centers. Fire when ready. But before his weapons officer could comply, alarms blared. Across the bridge, multiple ships dropping out of faster than light travel, shouted the sensor operator. 15 human vessels surrounding our position. Zelnax couldn't believe it. How had humans moved ships into position without being detected? Raise shields. All weapons prepare to fire. The Defiant led the human fleet. Marcus Torres sat in his command chair, watching the tactical display. All ships, this is Captain Torres. Remember your training. Wait for my signal. The Nigma ships opened fire. First, their massive energy cannons tearing through space, but the human ships scattered in patterns that seemed random but were actually precisely calculated. The Nigma weapons mostly missed their targets. Their shields are up, reported Anya, who served as Marcus' tactical officer, monitoring for the cycle point. Seconds ticked by. The Nigma continued firing, growing frustrated as the smaller, faster human ships evaded their attacks. Then Anya saw it. Shield cycle detected. Firing window in 3, 2, 1. Now all ships fire, Marcus commanded. 15 human ships fired simultaneously. Their weapons had been timed to hit. During the brief moment when Nigma shield cycled down, the barrage struck the lead Nigma warship with devastating effect. Explosions rippled across its hull as the quantum disruptors tore through its armor. Zelnax watched in horror as his flagship began to break apart. This was impossible. No species had ever penetrated Nigma shields on the first engagement. Retreat, he ordered. All ships emergency jump to faster than light speed. Remaining 2 Nigma warships fled, leaving their commander destroyed vessel behind. The human fleet held position, not pursuing. Marcus opened a channel to all ships. Well done, everyone. Today we showed the Nigma Empire that humanity cannot be intimidated. The message spreads. News of the battle spread quickly through galactic communication networks. For the first time in 2 centuries, someone had defeated Enigma attack force on the Nigma homeworld. Supreme Commander Vrather received the report. With cold fury, he had lost a sub-commander and a warship to a species that should have been easy prey. But Vrathker was not just angry. He was also concerned. The humans had known exactly When to attack, they had weapons, specifically designed to counter Nigma. Technology. This was not luck, this was preparation. The human ambassador's warning echoed. His mind, on Earth celebrations were brief. General Sarah knew this was just the beginning. They'll come again, she told David during a secure communication. And they'll come with more ships and better tactics. I know, David replied, but now they know we're serious. They know we can hurt them. Maybe that will make them think twice, or maybe it will make them angry enough to bring their full force against us, Sarah countered. David nodded slowly. Then we'd better be ready, because humanity doesn't back down and we don't surrender. They had their warning. The turning point and final stand. The months following the battle of Kepler 442b changed everything for humanity. The victory had proven that the Nigma Empire could be defeated, but it also painted a target on every human world. Supreme Commander Rather was not accustomed to defeat, and he would not let this insult stand unanswered. The Empire strikes back. Vrathker stood in the war room of his command ship, the Eternal Conquest. Around him, holographic displays showed the locations of human colonies scattered across several star systems. His military advisors waited silently for his orders. The Supreme Commander's 4 arms moved across the displays, marking targets. The humans think they are clever, Rather said, his voice low, and dangerous. They exploited a weakness in our shield systems. They used weapons we had not encountered before. They think this makes them our equals. He turned to face his officers, his red eyes blazing. We will show them the difference between winning a single battle and surviving a war. His chief strategist, Warm Master Kelter, stepped forward. Supreme Commander, our analysis suggests the humans are more prepared than we initially assessed. Perhaps we should reconsider full-scale assault. Vrathker's anger flared. Are you suggesting the mighty Nigma Empire should fear these primitive creatures? Not fear, Supreme Commander Krell replied carefully, but respect their capabilities enough to attack with overwhelming force. We should commit at least half our battle fleet to ensure complete victory. Vrathker considered this. His pride wanted to dismiss the suggestion, but his military experience knew wisdom when he heard it. Very well. Assemble 40 warships. We will attack 3 human colonies simultaneously. Their forces will be divided, and we will crush them world by world. Back on Earth, humanity's intelligence network intercepted fragmentary communications about Nigma fleet movements. General Sarah Okonkwo reviewed the data with growing concern. They're mobilizing in 3 separate sectors, she told her command staff. This is bigger than we anticipated. Dr. James Whitmore had been working without rest since the first battle. General, I have good news and bad news. The good news is we've produced enough quantum disruptors to equip our entire fleet. The bad news is our entire fleet numbers only 37 combat-capable ships. If the Nigma bring 40 or more, will be outnumbered and outgunned. Marcus Torres spoke up from where he stood studying the tactical displays. Then we can't fight them conventionally. We need to be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable than they are. Sarah nodded. Exactly what I was thinking. We can't defend 3 colonies at once, so we won't try. We'll evacuate non-essential personnel from the target colonies and turn them into traps. Traps asked DA, who had been promoted to commander after her performance at Kepler 442b. The Nigma expect us to defend our colonies, Sarah explained. They expect us to put our ships in predictable positions around our worlds. Instead, we'll hide our fleet and let them commit to their attack, then we hit them from unexpected angles, the secret weapon. While military preparations continued, Ambassador David Chin pursued a different strategy. He had been reaching out to other species in the Galactic Council, particularly those who had suffered under Nigma aggression, in a secure meeting room aboard a neutral space station. David met with representatives from 5 different civilizations. The Nigma Empire has terrorized this sector for 2 centuries, David told the assembled aliens. They have conquered your neighbors, threatened your trade routes, and demanded tribute. Humanity is standing up to them, but we cannot win this fight alone. A tall insect-like being named Ambassador Clickstar spoke in a clicking voice that was translated by computers. Nigma are too powerful. No one has successfully resisted them for long. Your courage is admirable, but it may be foolish. Perhaps, David acknowledged. But consider this. If the Nigma defeat humanity, who do you think they'll target next? Our resistance is buying time for all of you, and if we can prove that the Empire can be beaten, others will find the courage to resist as well. Another alien, a being of pure energy, contained in a crystalline form named Luminar, pulsed with light as it communicated. What do you propose? Information, David said. You don't have to fight alongside us, but if you can share intelligence about Nigma fleet movements, supply lines, and strategic weaknesses, it would help us tremendously. And if we succeed in stopping them, it benefits everyone. The meeting lasted for hours. By the end, David had secured agreements from 3 of the 5 species to provide intelligence support. It wasn't an alliance, but it was a start. The Battle of Titan's Ring, the Nigma attack, came 3 weeks later. 42 warships divided into 3 groups and jumped into human space simultaneously. Their targets were the colonies on New Terra, Horizon's End, and Sanctuary. Each attack group consisted of 14 ships, more than enough to overwhelm any conventional defense. At New Terra, Nigma ships arrived to find the colony apparently defenseless. Only minimal shield generators protected the surface installations. Commander Vexler, leading this attack group, smiled with satisfaction. The humans have abandoned this world. Begin orbital bombardment. But as his ships moved into bombing position, space around them suddenly filled with human vessels. They had been hiding in the shadow of New Terra's 3 moons, their power signatures reduced to nothing. Now they struck with devastating precision. The same scenario played out at Horizon's End. Sanctuary. The Nigma had walked into carefully prepared ambushes, human ships equipped with quantum disruptors and armed with the knowledge of exactly when Nigma shields would cycle to through the alien formations. But the real masterstroke came at Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Marcus Torres had positioned the Defiant and 10 other ships in the rings of Saturn, using the ice and rock to mask their presence. When the main Nigma fleet tried to regroup near Titan, they found themselves caught in a deadly crossfire. All ships execute pattern Delta 7. Marcus commanded. The human fleet moved with practice coordination striking at the Nigma formation from multiple angles. The quantum disruptors punched through Nigma shields and conventional weapons followed up to the alien ships aboard the Eternal Conquest. Vrathker watched in growing rage as his fleet took heavy casualties. How are they doing this? He roared. How do they know our every move? Warm Master Kelter had the answer, and it chilled him to his core. Supreme Commander, I believe the humans have allies. Our communication networks have been compromised. They know our tactics before we execute them. Vrathker's forearms clenched into fists. The humans hadn't just prepared militarily. They had engaged in diplomacy, gathering intelligence and support from other species. He had underestimated them completely. The final warning: after 6 hours of brutal combat, the Nigma fleet began to retreat. They had lost 18 ships, destroyed, and another 12 badly damaged. Human casualties were lighter, but still significant. 7 ships had been destroyed, and hundreds of brave men and women had given their lives to defend their worlds. As the Nigma retreated, General Sarah opened a communication channel that she broadcast across all known frequencies. Supreme Commander Wrath, this is General Sarah Okonkwo of United Earth Defense Command. You were warned. Ambassador Chin told you clearly not to mistake our desire for peace as weakness. You chose not to listen. She paused, letting her words sink in. You have now lost nearly half your attacking force. You have failed to capture a single human colony, and you have demonstrated to every species in this sector that the Nigma Empire can be defeated. I want to be absolutely clear about what happens next. Vrather listened, his pride wounded but his mind finally accepting reality. The human general continued. You have 2 choices. The first is to continue this war. If you do, we will not stop at defense. We will take the fight to your territory. We will share our technology with every species you have threatened. We will unite this sector against you, and we will not stop until your empire is broken. Your second choice, Sarah said, her voice softening slightly, is peace. Not the subjugation you call protection. Real peace with mutual respect and honest trade. We will forget this conflict ever happened. We will not seek revenge for our losses, but you must leave human space and never threaten us again. The communication ended. For a long moment, Vrathker stood in silence. Every instinct screamed at him to continue the fight, to commit his entire empire's resources to crushing these upstart humans, but his military mind knew the truth. The humans had allies. Now, they had proven their technology was a match for Nigma weapons, and they had demonstrated a tactical brilliance that the Empire had not faced in centuries. Open a channel to the human general, he said quietly. His officers looked shocked, but no one dared question the command. When the connection was established, Grather looked at the human woman on his screen. She was small compared to him, fragile-looking, but her eyes held the strength of steel. General Okonkwo, he said formally, the Nigma Empire will accept your terms. We will withdraw from human space, but no. This our memory is long. Someday circumstances may change. Sarah nodded. If that day comes, Supreme Commander, I hope you remember this moment. Remember that humanity gave you a choice and you chose wisely. We don't seek to be your enemies, but we will never be your victims. A New Dawn 3. Months after the Battle of Titan's Ring, the Galactic Council convened again. This time the chamber's atmosphere was different. Humanity had proven itself, not just as warriors but as a species worthy of respect. Ambassador David Chen stood before the assembly with quiet pride. Members of the council, he began. Humanity did not seek conflict with the Nigma Empire. We offered peace and friendship. When that was rejected, we offered a clear warning. Only when forced did we defend ourselves. He looked around at the assembled representatives. But we did not fight alone. Several of you provided crucial intelligence that helped us predict Nigma movements. For that we are eternally grateful. The three species who had secretly aided humanity shifted uncomfortably. David smiled. Don't worry, we will not reveal who helped us. Your secret is safe, but I hope this experience teaches all of us an important lesson. The strong do not have to dominate the weak. The advance do not have to exploit the developing. There is another way. Ambassador Clickstar spoke up. The humans have demonstrated courage and capability. Perhaps it is time for those of us who have lived in fear to find our own courage. Over the following months, something remarkable happened. Species that had paid tribute to the Nigma Empire began refusing. The Empire's grip on the sector weakened as more civilizations followed humanity's example. The Nigma did not collapse, but they were forced to change their ways, trading conquest for actual diplomacy. On Earth, General Sarah Okonkwo stood with Captain Marcus Torres and Dr. James Whitmore looking out at the stars from the observation deck of the newly constructed Defense Station Alpha. We won, Marcus said quietly. We survived, Sarah corrected. And we made allies. That's even better than winning, James nodded. The quantum disruptors are being shared with our new friends. Within a year, most of the independent species will have the ability to defend themselves against Nigma aggression. Sarah smiled. Humanity's greatest strength was never our weapons or our tactics. It was our refusal to give up and our ability to inspire that same spirit in others. In his private chambers aboard the Eternal Conquest, Vrathkorper reviewed the events of the past months. His empire had not fallen, but it had been humbled. The humans had done what he thought impossible. They had beaten the Nigma not through superior force, but through preparation, intelligence, and most importantly, through unity with others. He thought about Ambassador Chen's warning from that first meeting. The human had not threatened, he had simply stated facts. And given a choice, Vrathker had ignored the warning, believing humans to be weak. He would not make that mistake again. Epilogue. 5 years after the conflict, Ambassador David Chen retired from diplomatic service. He returned to Earth to teach at the Academy for Interstellar Relations. On his first day, a young student asked him about the famous warning he had given to the Nigma Empire. Sir, weren't you afraid when you threatened such a powerful empire? The student asked. David smiled. I didn't threaten them, I warned them. There's a difference. A threat is trying to intimidate someone into doing what you want. A warning is telling someone the truth about consequences so they can make an informed choice. He looked at his students seriously. The Nigma chose to ignore the warning. They paid the price for that choice, but ultimately everyone survived. In our sector is more peaceful now than it has Been in centuries. Another student raised her hand. What made you so confident that humanity could win? I wasn't confident we would win, David admitted, but I was absolutely certain we would not surrender. There's a difference between confidence and determination. Confidence can be shaken, determination endures. He paused. The Nigma Empire had conquered 17 civilizations. They were powerful, experienced, and ruthless. But every one of those civilizations had accepted defeat eventually. Humanity never would have. That's what made us different. As the class ended and students filed out, David looked out the window at the stars. Humanity had earned its place among them, not through conquest but through courage. They had warned their enemies clearly and honestly. When those warnings were ignored, humanity had proven they were not bluffing, but more importantly, they had shown the galaxy that there was strength in unity, wisdom in preparation, and power in giving others a choice. The Nigma Empire had learned a hard lesson. When humans say do not mess with us, it is not arrogance or empty posturing. It is a simple statement of fact, and as Vrathker and his empire discovered, it is a fact best not tested. The stars belong to no one empire. They belong to all species, willing to treat each other with respect, and humanity, small and relatively new to the galactic stage, had helped write that new chapter in galactic history. The warning had been given, the warning had been ignored, and the universe would never be quite the same again.